Hi there guys, welcome to another episode of Badat Brothers. We're going to be start adding in new segments to the Badat Brother channel, and that's going to be firearm reviews. The first review we'll be kicking it off with is the AK review. The two AKs we will be reviewing today is the Saiga MOD M3. It's not a BMW, but it is the M3 in the Saiga, and that is a Type 56 Norinko, both chambered in the same AK, the very infamous and famous round 7.62 by 39. So in South Africa, the two typical ones we have are the Saiga and the Norinko AK platforms. Your AK platforms at the moment in 2022, your Norinkos are coming in at around 10,000 to 11,000 Rand, and your Saigas anything between 17,000 to up to 20,000 Rand. Both chambered in 7.62 by 39. The Saiga has Magpul furniture. It is stock standard out the box. The Norinko, my personal Norinko, is kitted out with Magpul furniture, a Zirkov stock, a optic, a magnification Nico Sterling, and has a front grip. So we're going to run them through some series of tests and figure out which of these two are better. So guys, the first test we're going to run is a grouping test. We're going to start with the Saiga. We're looking for grouping. So grouping is the closeness of the shots to one another, not necessarily center of the target. This is roughly about 20 yards. We're going to test them both in from a bench rest setting. So it's very stable, and we just want to see how tight these groupings are and how well manufactured the barrels of the firearms are. Let's give it a shot. Okay guys, we're working on the accuracy test and the groupings on our rifles. We're running the Norinko. It's 5 rounds, as tight of a grouping as we can. This does have an optic, however they're both bench rested and it's at 20 yards. So the optic's not really going to play a difference. I'm going to put it to 3 magnification. And we're just basically seeing how tight of a tolerance we can get on these shots. We're running Norinko ammo. We're running Chinese 7.62 by 39 ammo. Ironically out of a Chinese firearm. So let's see how well these perform. Of course, they're not the most expensive 7.62 by 39s out there, but we're running them both equally in the Saiga and the Norinko, and let's see what groupings we get. So grouping analysis, we've got the Saiga up here. Pretty tight grouping, okay? That's 2 shots cutting in here, nice and close. We're looking at about 1 MOA, give or take, at 100 yards. That kind of grouping there. So the Saiga grouping is tight. You know, we've got 1 flyer. Our first round, cold ball, was a bit out. Saiga, Norinko. The Norinko, again, very tight, excluding the first round, which is cold ball, way out here. Alternatively, the grouping thereafter on the Norinko, I might say even a little tighter than the general grouping and pattern of your Saiga. Although Saiga significantly more with regards to price and costing than the Norinko, both running Chinese ammo. Action is pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth. The trigger, there is a little bit of slack. Actually, a significant amount of slack on the Saiga trigger. The brake though is clean. It does have a clean brake, but there's a bit of creep and slack on there. I like the Saiga. It's got a nice solid feel to it. The dust cover, unlike the Norinkos that do wobble and shake about, this one is pretty stable, actually rock stable. It does come with the side mount ready to go. So if you want to attach your Picatinny rail above the dust cover, you can do so with the Saigas. That mount for the top rail comes included. It does come with a nice longer foregrip, and it's made of polymer instead of the wooden stocks that come with the original Norinkos. The stock and the grip feel like a very solid platform. So let's see how it does on this speed test. When it's closed, it's a speed test, 4 rounds as quickly as we can on 2 targets at 10 yards. And we're going to take a reading with a shot timer and see what we get between the two. It's open. That felt pretty smooth. What I don't like though, the safety is really sticky coming out the box of a Saiga. What's the time? So we had 4 rounds in a time of 1.03. So first shot 0.51 on the target index at 10 yards and a 0.18 split per round. 4 rounds in a total time of 1.03. Saiga. And the next test we're running is with the Norinco Type 56. Okay, this one is kitted out a bit. Nothing has been changed with the internals of the firearm. The trigger on a Norinco that's fired at least 2,000 rounds significantly smoother than the Saiga. Significantly so. There's a slight creep and a clean break. I'm actually surprised the Saiga had so much play and slack in its trigger. This one is kitted out a bit. Nothing has been changed with the internals of the firearm. Still the original stock action bolt stock trigger. The only difference is the furniture. It's got an optic. It's got the side mount. Unlike the Saigas, you've actually got to drill into the frame of the gun to mount your top side Picatinny rail floating above the dust cover. I did have a dust cover rail on this. I would not recommend it as the dust covers on the Norinkos are not as sturdy as the Saiga. We've got mag pull grips on the firearm as well as a mag pull stock. It's a Zirkov. It's a foldable stock and it does come with the option of extending it as well. So one of my favorite stocks on the AK. I do have a foregrip as well as the UTG laser and light. Light's good. Laser I wouldn't recommend. The laser does move around a bit once you're fired. So holding a 0 on that laser is pretty difficult. So I would not recommend the UTG laser on your AK. Alright, so 4 rounds, speed test, as quick as we can at 10 yards on 2 targets. Felt a little slow. Could have tapped that a little quicker. But my gun has been run in a few thousand rounds, so it's very smooth. So surprisingly, the Norinco, we ran a total time of 4 shots in a total time of 0.85. The first shot was a 0.42. Thereafter, my split was a 0.13, 0.16, a 0.14, and the final shot split was a 0.14. So 4 shots, 0.85 seconds at 10 yards out of the Norinco. So actually, quite a lot faster than your Saiga. Okay, we did grouping test. Okay, it's not a complete test on the firearm, but we did a grouping test and we did a speed test. All right. So far, based on firing both, the Saiga MOD M3, beautiful gun out the box, far more ergonomical, far more solid of a package stock standard out the box as compared to a standard Norinco. However, a Norinco that's kitted up, although the test that we ran should not have affected the outcome based on the furniture. Basic speed test from 10 yards with the standard internals of the Norinco outshone the Saiga. When it came to a grouping test with the save time of Chinese ammo, 1 out of a Chinese gun, 1 out of a Russian Saiga, Norinco again outperformed the Saiga slightly. So far, as it stands, in part 1 of our Norinco versus Saiga AK review, the Norinco is ahead. Value for money wise, if you're buying an AK in South Africa, the Norinco, you're going to have to kit it out. It's not perfect out the box. The tolerances are far more. The furniture, the standard wooden finishes are not lacquer. Your Saiga out the box, however, is far more of a compact, ergonomical, and tight firearm out the box. Value for money though, it's here nor there. My pick, Norinco. Okay guys, so this is now the original Type 56 out the box. Doesn't have any extra furniture on there except for I'm using a better magazine instead of the original steel mags that come with the AK. The horrible suckers, but they are a weapon by themselves. This is the original Type 56 out the box, no extra furniture on it, still the wooden stock and the wooden foregrip. We're going to run this into an accuracy test and a speed test and see how it compares or stacks up to a Saiga out the box. We'll do, yeah, let's do an accuracy test, check the grouping on this, and we will check the speed test on this. This is the original Type 56 Norinko. This is our grouping test, accuracy test. Will be on a bench rest setting. So gun is very steady and stable, targeted about 20 yards. We're using Chinese 7.62x39 out of the Chinese Norinko Type 56. Let's see what kind of groups we're getting out of the original Type 56 without anything done to it. This gun is a little fresher than my personal Norinko. It has a fewer rounds shot through it. So let's see what kind of results we get. I must say, when you're shooting the Type 56, the recoil management of this with the wooden stock is absolutely horrible. There is no padding whatsoever on that stock. That recoil goes straight into your body and is not a very pleasant feeling. A grouping for the original Type 56 Norinko. I mean, not bad. Nice little type grouping here. Some cold bore rounds, 2 flies, but generally speaking, I would say it's as good as the Saiga original out the box. It has fewer rounds through it than my rifle, so that could have accounted for a bigger grouping, but the Norinko with all the gear definitely got a better grouping than the original. The recoil management on the Type 56 is absolutely atrocious with the wooden stock, but still not a bad grouping. I would say almost exactly the same to the Saiga, if not maybe a little tighter, except for those little 2 flyers out there. A good performance from the Norinko Type 56. Okay, so the next thing we're going to run is a speed test at approximately 10 yards. It's 4 rounds and 2 targets. Let's see what kind of cycle rate we can get out of the Norinko. A fresh Norinko straight out the box with the original furniture on there. So 4 rounds and as quick of a time as possible. So we had 4 rounds in a total time of 1.07. That was our stock standard Norinko out the box. Still a better cycle rate than your Saiga out the box. The trigger on the Norinko is far better. The slack and the creep far more consistent, and the brake far more clean on your Norinko. So yeah, still the Norinko with less rounds through it than my Norinko outperformed the Saiga in the speed test. Trigger. Okay guys, my final take on the AKs. Saiga out the box. Okay, it does come with polymer furniture. Doesn't necessarily come with the Magpul furniture. And it's a sturdier package out the box. So guys, my final analysis on the Saiga and the Norinko platform, the Russian versus Chinese model. Majority of these firearms will be used for, especially in South African context, for sport shooting. Alright? So out the box, we take the Saiga as the one that's ahead. It's a far, well, I'll say, aesthetically pleasing package, whereas the wooden features on the Norinko are not pleasant to look at all. Look really cheap, really rugged. The bayonet in the front is obsolete. No one's running and stabbing targets with the bayonets, which is why I've taken mine off my personal Norinko. The Saiga is a better package out the box. It does come with polymer features, not necessarily the Magpul ones, but even the standard polymer front grip, stock, and grip itself is far better than the Norinko. Internals, accuracy test, the 2 originals are pretty much almost exactly the same. My personal Norinko shot better than both of them. The trigger on the Saiga is not the most pleasant. It's inconsistent at times, and there's a lot of creep and slack. The triggers on the Norinkos are much better. So for the extra few thousand that you're paying for your Saiga, I'd take that same amount and kit out the standard Norinco. My pick still stands. I would choose the Norinco over the Saiga when it comes to the South African market for value and for what you're getting to potentially build upon. So the winner, in my view, again, is my 5 cents. I'd take a Norinco over the Saiga. Have a good day, guys. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We want to bring you more great review videos and great content to keep you informed, and have an awesome day.